I was lying awake in the dark, the stadium lights long gone, the roar of the crowd replaced by silence, a silence that felt heavier than any defeat I had ever faced. You win trophies, you break records, you are expected to carry a smile, a mask. But I felt broken, I felt exposed. I had won virtually everything in football by then, but that night I lost something no medal could ever replace. It happened in April 2022. My partner Georgina Rodriguez and I were expecting twins. We were filled with joy, the arrival of our baby boy and baby girl, a dream we had shared and built toward. Then the worst kind of news arrived. We lost our baby boy during childbirth. We named him Ángel. And while we welcomed his twin sister Bella, the pain of loss overshadowed everything. It is probably the worst moment I passed through in my life since my father died, I said later. I remember the moment I told my older children. The night was heavy with tension. I saw their eyes searching for answers. They asked, "Dad, where's the other baby?" My voice cracked. After a week I said, "Ángel has gone to heaven." It was the truth. It hurt. You don't know if you cry or you smile because it's something you don't know how to react. I said that. In those hours, the contrast between the public persona and private despair felt brutal. On the pitch, I still had a role. I still had to train, to compete, to show up. But inside, part of me had shattered. The stadium cheers, the camera flashes, none of it reached me. The number 7 chest, the celebrations, I felt them less. I felt the emptiness behind them. In an interview, I admitted when you have a kid, you expect that everything will be normal. And when you have a problem, it's hard. I had lost my father in 2005. His name was Jose Dini Aveiro. He died of liver failure when I was young. I was 20. I remember seeing the funeral photos, hearing the condolences, but I didn't fully process it in public. I kept moving. I scored goals, made teams win, kept the drive relentless. Yet the hole was there. My father was always in good spirits. It makes me a bit sad because if he could enjoy seeing me now, that would be a highlight in his life. I said that in another moment. That father's death is part of this night's web of pain. Because when I lost my son, I felt history repeating in a way that knocked the wind out of me. I built a chapel in my home, a small church downstairs where I kept his ashes and my father's ashes. It is something I want to hold for the rest of my life. I've said, let me take you through how it felt. The darkness crept in slowly. It was not a sudden hammer blow, but a cold, persistent drift. In the locker room, I sat in the corner, headphones on, staring at the wall. The laughter around me, the team banter, I heard it, but I felt distant. I thought, this is not what I imagined. My life up until then had been one of ascension. From Madeira streets, the boy who dreamt to the stadiums of Manchester, Madrid, Juventus. I had scores to settle, records to beat, but none of that prepared me for the stillness in my house, the emptiness in my heart. That night I cried. I have cried in my bed. I have cried under stadium lights after a bad miss, but this was different. This wasn't defeat by a rival. It was a void that only love and loss can make. I remember telling myself, you are supposed to protect them. You are supposed to be the rock. Instead, I found myself numb. But in that darkness, something changed. Something shifted. I realized that being the greatest didn't mean I was immune. It didn't mean I didn't carry pain. If I pretended I was different, I would only distance myself from what made me human. I realized the legacy I chase isn't just the trophies or the goals, it's the example I leave for my children. My daughter Alana Martina, my twins Eva and Mateo, my baby girl. Bella, they look at me and they see a father, a hero maybe. But I want them to see also the man who failed, who hurt, but who got up. I told them of Ángel. I told them that he is part of their story. pointing to the sky, saying, I did this for Ángel, I said that too. Faith has always been in the background of my journey, but never so loudly as when I sat in that dark room asking, why this? Why us? I asked that question and heard nothing, no immediate answer. What I heard was the echo of my father's voice, of my mother's tears as we stood by the hospital beds in Madeira. And then what I heard was my own voice telling my children, we will always love you, Ángel, we will always love you. I said that publicly too. In the days that followed, I realized something critical. You don't heal in a day, you don't even heal in a year, but you live through it. I went back to training, I scored again, but I also paused. I watched my children more closely, I held my partner more firmly. The drive to win remained, but the purpose deepened. It wasn't just I versus the world anymore. It was we, my family, my faith, my son, who wasn't here physically, but lived in every heartbeat. There's a scene I carry with me. 4 a.m, the house is silent. I slip into the closet that serves as the chapel. I kneel. I whisper, Dad, son, watch over us. I sit there for a long time. I don't pray for miracles. I ask for strength. I ask for the courage to accept that sometimes you don't get what you think you deserve. I ask for the ability to keep going, to show my children that success is born from the ashes of our hardest nights. That night, I learned the value of silence. The roar of the crowd taught me how to win. The silence of loss taught me how to live. I discovered that human immune systems of the soul are tested more in the dark than under spotlights. I won't lie. I asked, what did I do wrong? It's a fair question. You train, you prepare, you sacrifice, and yet you get it blind. I asked, is it punishment? Is it chance? I still don't know. What I knew was the grief is real, the guilt is real, the why me is real, and the challenge wasn't to bury it, the challenge was to carry it. Because when you carry your pain and you still decide to go out and perform at the highest level, that's something. When you still hug your kids and make them laugh when inside you are storm, that's something. When you step onto the pitch in your number 7 and you raise your arms knowing there are parts of you you can't see, that's something else entirely. And so I made a choice, a quiet choice. Not for the crowd, not for the cameras. I chose to be the father I needed when I was a boy. I chose to be the partner who holds rather than hides. I chose to be the man who honors what he has lost by giving more of what he still has. I changed how I train. I still push the limits, yes, but now I train with a story in mind. The story is not just Cristiano Ronaldo scores the goal. The story is Cristiano Ronaldo owns the night he feared. The trophies still line the cabinet. The records still read. But they no longer define me. What defines me is who I am when no one is watching. The next morning I returned to the training ground. The wind was colder than usual. The grass glistened with dew, but to me it felt like I was walking on glass. I pulled on my boots, taped my ankles, and walked out to the pitch. My body moved on a habit. My mind moved on a different axis. I was there, but part of me wasn't. I remember thinking, you are still number 7, they still expect you, but in here, you are nothing but a man with a hollow chest. Football gave me everything it promised, trophies, records, adoration, yet none of it would replace the boy I held for only a moment. That reality haunted me every time I heard the stadium hum, every time the goal net rippled. I realized even the greatest hero can become invisible in his own home. In the weeks that followed, I kept returning, kept performing, but I adjusted the reason I showed up. Before, I trained to be the best. Now I train to be someone who could say, I chose to rise, not because I had no pain, but because I did. I told myself, this is for my family, this is for the child who will never kick a ball, the father who never saw one more goal. It became less about the applause and more about the silence behind it. I found myself in the small chapel I had built in my house more often than in the gym. I sat on the polished stone floor, knees bent, head bowed. I spoke without fully speaking. To my father, to my son, "You believed," I said. "You watched, you waited. I carry your names. I was never much for long prayers. But in that room I learned how to be still. I learned how to listen to my own heart. I listened to the weight inside me and let it be." In one interview, I said, "His ashes are here like my daddy's. They helped me to be a better man, to be a better father." There was a moment I'll never forget. After a match, I scored a goal, lifted my arms, looked up at the sky. The cameras flashed. On the pitch, I did a ritual. But in the tunnel afterward, I stopped. I looked at the wall, the framed jerseys, the trophies. I touched them. And for the first time, the thrill of the strike was replaced by a surge of emptiness. I asked myself, was this it? Was this the summit I dreamed of? Because at that summit, I realized if love and loss can't coexist, what kind of summit is that? Back at home, I changed my daughter Alana, my twin daughter Eva, my twin son Matteo, and baby girl Bella. They became my priority. I used to think being a father meant providing homes, gifts, security. I still do those things. But now I learned that being a father also means showing up when the house is silent. It means telling your children you are vulnerable so they see strength. I said in another moment, when you lose a person you love so much, surviving the loss is difficult. I wanted them to know that you don't always need to be unbreakable, just resilient. The public doesn't always see this. They see me running on the pitch, celebrating, they hear the record numbers, they read the headlines. But I want them to know, and I want them to know, especially the young boy in Madeira who kick a stone for a ball, that pain doesn't disqualify you from greatness, equips you. I want every young athlete, every kid who's told they're too small or too late to hear, you can rise from your darkest night. Because that night held a lesson, one the spotlight can teach. It taught me that legacy isn't built in the spotlight. Legacy is built when you get up while no one is watching, when you choose love over trophy, when you choose connection over applause. After the loss, I trained harder, yes, but I also listened more, I smiled more, I cried more, I walked slower, I held tighter. The next time I walked onto the pitch, I brought that change with me. I still played with the rage of the overlooked teenager from Madeira. But I also played with the calm of a man who had seen the bottom and knew there was only one way to go forward. I visualized for the first time not just a goal, but a moment after the goal, the hug with my kids, the well done dad, the quiet pride from someone who didn't need the adulation of millions. That mindset shifted everything. When I say I train when no one is watching, it meant something new. I wasn't training to outscore rivals. I was training to keep the promise I made to my son. I was training to honor my father's memory. I was training to be the man who didn't just win, the man who healed, the man who became the example he never had. And that example will outlast any record, because records break, moments fade, but the impact you leave in your children, the dignity you carry in your family, the life you live when cameras are off, that echoes. I remember telling my teammates, talent without hard work is nothing. I meant it more deeply now. So here's what I want you to take. Your darkest night may be your greatest teacher. The time you felt invisible may be the moment you uncovered your purpose. Too many people wait for the storm to pass. I learned you have to dance in the rain. I learned you have to practice gratitude in silence. I learned that when you buckle, you can still stand. To my children, you will never play for me. You will play with me or despite me. But you will live knowing your dad was not perfect. I just chose to keep going. To everyone who look at my medals and wonders how I do it, I lost the greatest part of myself. And in that loss, I discovered who I truly am. To the boy in Madeira, yes, you will taste victory, but taste tragedy too. Let it humble you, let it strengthen you. And now I end where I began in darkness. I close my eyes and I feel it. I let it wash over me, then I open them and I step forward. Because the night did not defeat me, it prepared me. The night did not silence me, it taught me to speak when it hurts. The night did not break me, it built me. And I hope when your darkest night comes, you remember you are not alone. You are not the first, you will not be the last, but you are still standing. Look up, find the small light, trust it, walk toward it, and when you reach it, carry someone else into the dawn.